So welcome back to the Nefesh HaHaim Sha'ar Dalet. We're this evening learning Perek Lamed Aleph. So we're deep into Kedushas HaTorah, the power of Torah. Tonight it's the power of Torah to be Mechaper Avonos. Last time we learned how the Kedusha of the mitzvahs comes from Kedushas HaTorah. The Torah is above everything else. Everything comes from Torah. ומזה גם כן עסק התורה היא מכפרס על כל עוונות של הנפש החוטאת. It is for this reason that the Torah has the capacity to atone for all the sins of the soul. Remember that the Torah, whenever it has kares, it says v'nikrisu hanefashos. The sin is associated with the nefesh. Remember the nefesh, there's also a nefesh bahamis, an animal soul, the pulsing blood, crimes of passion. Those are in the Nefesh. Kimamaram zal in menachos. Ma'dichsiv zois haTorah la'oila l'mincha l'chatas. U'masik shukala oisik b'Torah. Ein sarach la'oila v'lo mincha v'lo chatas v'lo asham. Okay. We can't bring korbanos today. We don't need korbanos today. We can learn Torah. V'keini b'tanchuma parshasav u'b'shmois rabbah. Chui machem dvarim v'shuvu el Hashem. Lefi sheYisrael oimrim aniyim anu ein lanu lavi korbanos amalei kadosh baruch hu dvarim ani mevakesh. I'm not asking for korbanos, I'm asking for words. Ani moicha lechem al kol avonosechem. Ve'ein dvarim, what does it mean, words? What words does Hashem want? Divrei Torah. U'b'tanchuma v'yakel be'inyan ha'aron amru shu noise avonoseyim sheYisrael she'aTorah shebo Noise avonoseyim sheYisrael. So something we don't think about that often, the power of kaparas avonos within Talmud Torah. Because a lot of times the people that sin are not the people that learn, and the people that learn are not the people that sin. But, averos happen to anybody. And so this is a powerful tool and something we need to know, that learning Torah is mechaper avonos. So he brings from the Talmud Yo. Okay, Adam sha'avar averos harbe v'konsu alav misa nebech. Somebody did a lot of averos, and it's been decreed above for him to die. V'chazar v'asa tshuva. He's about tshuva v'koyret Torah neviim v'ksuvim v'shana mishnah midrash halachas v'agados v'shimesh chachamim afilu nigzera alav mea gzeiros kadosh baruch hu maviran mimenu. Beautiful. Very, very hopeful that a person who transgressed many sins, and the high court imposed a death sentence, but he did tshuva, repented, and he studies Torah, Ksuvim, Mishnah, Midrash, etc. He did shimush tamidei chachamim. Even if 100 gzeiros had been nigzur alav, HaKadosh Baruch Hu removes them b'schus haTorah. U'b'zohar Kama islu lebnei nasha listakala b'bolchana d'kutshabrichu. Kama islu listakala b'moli d'oraisa. T'kol man d'eshtado be'oraisa. Ki ilu makriv kol korbanin de'alma. Lekame d'kutshabrichu. When you learn Torah, you mamish make an effort to learn Torah. Ishtado be'oraisa. It's as if you brought all the korbanos in the world. Not that you brought a korban or even all the korbanos in the world, okay, and you brought them before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So you knew where to bring them. You bring them to God, really direct and really inclusive of all the korbanos in the world. You bring before God. Below oid eladikuchabrichu mechaper le al kol chavoi umisaknein le kama kursin la alma da asi. Hashem awards atonement for his averos, and they prepare for him a number of thrones in the world to come. So very beautiful. Shimon.
If he was in the advertising world, I would say that it sounds like he's overselling, but
it's not him. It's a Zohar HaKadosh. So I agree. The Zohar HaKadosh is sometimes over the top, but it is. So it's describing a spiritual reality. It sounds too good to be true. I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. I guess on our level, it's hard for us to see that. I thought it was the Divrei HaHaim, because he's also he's rough in the other direction too when he needs to be.
True.
So I guess, he's bringing this on the other end. But yeah, I don't know. For our Metziut, it's hard to grasp this. You know, the I I wouldn't call it a whitewash because I mean you're not talking about just stam limud. You're talking about a serious hashka'a, I think.
Good. And Hashem cares about Torah. And so somebody who takes it upon himself to invest in the business and really work hard in it, so that's a really big skus for him. V'gam al oisan avoinus chamurim she'eino korbanos mechaprim. There are averas that sacrifices do not atone, and yet Torah, eseka Torah mechaperet. K'mo shomru Chazal b'bnei Eli. V'zevach u'b'mincha hu de'enu miskaper. Aval mischaper hu b'divrei Torah. V'kein amru gadol talmud Torah yoyser me'akravas tmidim. So we have examples of that there are sins, averas, that cannot be atoned for through animal sacrifice, but the power of Torah study supersedes that. Ubezoar man deloyer be'araisa lo itzrich lo lekorbanin v'lo le'olavin de'horaisa adiv mikula v'kshura dehimnusa dekula. Good evening, Steve. Welcome. We are talking about the power of Talmud Torah to atone for sins even greater than the capacity of korbanos. That one who labors in Torah doesn't need sacrifice nor offerings, for the Torah is better than all of them and connects all the parts of emunah. Shalom Rav So again, the power of Torah to bring atonement of sin. In Parshas Kedoshim, Bezevach Mincha, V'miskaper hu b'divrei Torah. Amai, begin the divrei Torah, salkin al kol korbanin de alma. Kama de ukma de chsiv zoysa Torah la'oila l'mincha l'chatas, shakol l'raisa, the kava kol korbanin de alman. Okay, so there's like an equation here that the Torah equals all the whole variety and the whole maybe quantity of all the korbanos. The Torah is equivalent to that. Amalei hachihu vadai de kol man yishtala be'raisa fagav disgazer leunsha mile'ela nichale mikol korbanin ve'alvin hu oinshe iskarea. So it's true that by learning Torah, the gzar din, the writ against the person, will be torn up. Tachazi lo idakni barnash la almin albamilin dioraisa. Come see that it is through Torah study that a person will get his place in Olam Haba. Even though punishments have been decreed upon him from above, he provides greater pleasure than all the sacrifices and offerings, and the punishment is torn up. A person is never refined of his sins except via words of Torah.
But this is just spiritual. We're not talking about he doesn't get a get out of jail free card.
Correct. Exactly. Based in Shomata. If he's Chayv Misa,
Right,
they'll put him to death.
Beit in Shamata, that's what I want. Right.
Yes. This is spiritual scorecard. V'araisa kadosha iskari d'chsiv ki kadosh ani Hashem v'dabi araisa dehi shma kadisha ilah. We've seen this idea that the Torah, the words of the Torah, are actually one long shame of Hashem. And so the Torah is a shame Hashem. Alda mandi shtadel ba is dakni the basris kaddish. So therefore, a person who's oisik with Torah, particularly chumash, is purified and sanctified. Tana kedosha de'oraisa kedosha deslikas al kol kedoshin. The Torah has greater kedusha than anything else. Its holiness rises above all other types of holiness. And in Midrash Hanelam, Amru batlu korbanes v'lo batla Torah. The sacrifices were annulled, I guess, because we don't have a Beis Hamikdash, but we still have the Torah. We say mizman shecharav Beis Hamikdash ein lekadosh baruch hu ela b'dalet amos shel halacha bilvad. Hashem still has the Torah, and in fact, that's given as an explanation. If people celebrate a siyum during the 9 days when we have a custom not to eat meat, but at the siyum it's permissible to partake of basar v'yayin. Why? So there's different explanations. It has to do with Simcha Satira and Simcha Shel Mitzvah, like a bris milah, Sudas Mitzvah, you could have meat. But there's an additional explanation in the Siyum Masechta that vis-a-vis the Torah and the celebration of Torah, so in a sense, you're not missing the Mikdash, because Mizman Shebeis HaMikdash Charev, from the time it was destroyed, what does Hashem have left in this world? The Torah. And so if you're celebrating Torah, in a sense, you're not missing the Mikdash. It's not entirely true, because we're still missing something in Talmud Torah because of Churban Beis HaMikdash. But it's a Dvar Torah that connects the eating of the meat, eating flesh eggs at a seal. Okay, we're talking about Afalpi the Batla, the Korbanis lo Batla Torah. Haidelo asik bekorbanis asik b'Torah yistani le'yatir. Amar le'yasku b'Torah v'ani moichel lehem b'shvila. People who learn Torah, Hashem says I will be moichel their avodas yoysim mikol korbanis sheba'olam. Shenamar zoysa Torah la'oila lemincha. Zoysa Torah b'shvil oila b'shvil mincha. So this pasuk that says zoys haTorah, and then it says the oila mincha l'chatus l'asham. So the Torah is equivalent to the oila minchas chatas v'asham. That's how they're darshaning it. Amrab Kruspadoi, Haiman de Midkar bePumei, Bate Knesios Badi Midrashos in Yana de Korbanis, Bris Krusahu de Inun Mal Achaya, the Midkarin Choyve Lavashale, the Lo Yachlin Mevele Elativu. Okay, beautiful sort of deal. The deal says was Kruspadoi is as follows: one who verbally recalls the Korbanis in Shul and in Beis Midrash, there's a covenant that the angels who are appointed to prosecute and mention his averas to cause evil to befall him, they can't do evil to him. Their mouths are shut. It's like Hashem tells the prosecution, no more words out of you, prosecution. The only thing we'll hear from you are blessings. We'll only hear from you words of praise for this Jew who is involving himself in the Torah of the Korbanis. That's how I understand it. V'omru oy perek beis de brachos u'betana d'Eliyahu. Seder Eliyahu Rabbah, chapter 25. Lama nismechu ohalim lenichalim. Ohalim are tents, and nichalim are brooks running water. It's in the bracha of Bil'am. So what's that about? Here's the take-home point. A brook is a place where a Jew could go to the mikvah. You could get in the water and purify yourself. From being impure to pure. Af ohalim. And ohalim is an allusion to Torah study. Because remember that Yaakov Avinu was Ishtam Yoshev Ohalim, sitting in the tent. What did you do in the tent in the ancient world? Do the New York Times crossword puzzle. What are you going to do there? So what you're going to do in the tent is learn Torah. So when it says tent, it's a reference to learning Torah. So just like the Nachal, the water, brings a person from Tumah L'Tara, so too the Ohalim, Malim Esa'adam, Mikaf Choiva Lekaf Schus. It takes a Jew who has more Averas than mitzvahs, and he's in the Kaf Choiva, he's in a bad place, the scales of justice are weighed against him, and through his Yeshiva Ohalim, because he's learning Torah, so that's going to outweigh his Averas and bring him into Kaf Schus. And it says there, Shivchi kamayim libeich, mamayim halalu mikveh tahara hein li Yisrael, ulekol asher nivra ba'olam, a mikveh brings purity. Kach divrei Torah, mikveh tahara hein li Yisrael, bekol mekoymis moish v'seihem. We have the Torah, we have it like a mikveh to purify us. Bo berei kama gedoyla koichel shel Torah, shemitaheres es poishe Yisrael, bizman she'oisim tshuva, afilu mi'avodah zara, shebi'adam shenemar v'zarakti aleichem ma'im tohorim v'tihartem. Okay, really powerful capacity of Torah to atone for sins, even for idol worship. How is this? How does it work? Ikara tshuva shlema mitis shehimi ava. We know there's different levels and types of tshuva miyira and tshuva mi'ava. So the best tshuva, the most complete tshuva, tshuva mi'ava, hu rak al yadei esek hatayra k'ra'oi. If you do tshuva mi'ava, you're necessarily going to be involved in Torah study. Because doing tshuva mi'ava means you love God and you want to be closer to Hashem. So how do you do that? You spend time learning. So there's esek hatayra. K'mo shekasav b'maylas hatayra, oyev es hamakom. K'mo shekasav hashiveinu avinu l'seirasecha v'achzireinu b'tshuva shleima lefanecha. So tshuva and Torah definitely go together. Ubezoar barnash israchek mi'araisa rachek hu mikutchabrichu. This is true, that if a person is far from Torah, I'm afraid he's far from God. Okay, the way to get close to God is not just kiyum mitzvahs or being a good person, midas taivas, but the way to, those are both important. You have to do mitzvahs and you have to be a mensch. But the way to get close to Kadosh Baruch Hu is through limud Torah. Man de karev le'oraisa, karev le'kutchabrichu be'adei. Ki al kol pshoim tchase avas ha'Torah. We know this expression called al kol pshoim tchase ava, and he's construing it to mean over all sins, love overcomes all of them. But what love? Love of Torah. Moshe Kasev Tonu Yo. V'kein amru amor sheba machzira lemutav. The light of the Torah will bring them back. The lamp which was within the Torah will bring people back to the good. And beperka chalil and sukkah im pagabecha menuvel zeh. If the Yetzer Hara, starts up with you and you get an urge to do something bad, mashcheu lebeis hamidrash, drag that scumbag to the beis midrash. Take the Yetzer Hara and tell him, I'm not going to go with you to the bar or wherever bad place you want to take me. I'm going to take you to the beis midrash and force you to learn with me. Im even hu nimoach, and the Yetzer Hara in the beis midrash will melt or split, or you'll have the power to overcome him through the koyach of the Torah. The ke'ein ze amru b'tanchuma, and imba yitzrecha lahashchikcha samcheu b'divrei Torah. If your yetzer is coming to break you down, so bring him to the Torah. Midrash Tehillim, im amar alecha Yetzer Hara hachileu lachma shel Torah. The Yetzer Hara comes against you, feed him some Torah. Okay. Ubezoar kadechami barnashti hirhurim bishid asin lagabe. A person is full of bad hirhurim, bad thoughts. So what should he do? Yisasek beraisa. The kadein yisavrim minei. And that's a good way to get rid of your bad thoughts, is by, involving your mind in something constructive, something challenging, something stimulating in a Torahic way. Kedahu sitra bisha, asi lemifte leile barnash. The Yetzer Hara, the sitra achra, is coming to tempt and seduce a person. Yehe mashich leile gabi araisa bis parish minei. Bring him again to the beis midrash or open a sefer and lead him to the Torah, and the Yetzer Hara will lose interest. He'll go away. And this is what it says, the Parshas of Torah, in chapter Pirkei Avos, chapter 6. Once a person is a real Ben Torah, and he has this tool and this koyach of Torah, so then he's able to fight the battles and overcome the Yetzer Hara. Yesh makom lefarsho gam al zeh ha'inyan anal. Shekemo ha'mayan. A mayan is, of course, a fountain, a spring that is gushing. Kemo ha'mayan anovea. Av shelifamim nirpash v'nishchas v'harbe refesh v'tit. Okay, think about a spring, like a natural spring. It could get clogged up with mud and bad stuff, mired and clogged by large amounts of refuse, I guess, mud and clay. But ultimately, im kol zeh hu novea bokea mizgaber v'hoilech me'at me'at. ultimately the sort of the power of the earth and the water will break through. It will unblock its path and overcomes the flow slowly but surely. So too, if a person gets sort of messed up by bad stuff, a person will come back to himself, or the Mayan will. A person who is a Torah learner, becomes a Torah learner, although he sullied himself at the beginning with Averas, even big ones. He got deeply involved in bad stuff. Im calls that. Al Yedei Esek Torah. Nachon libo batuach shevadai hameor sheba yachziru lemutav. He comes to yeshiva, he comes to Beis Midrash and starts learning on a regular basis. That will put him in a good pathway. It will fix him, rectify him, clean him up, and get him on a positive lifestyle that will put him in a good way. And over time, weeks, I'd say it's weeks, months, and years, all the goodness of the Torah will sort of wipe out and wear down all the badness that he had engaged in prior. He'll be totally taken over with goodness. He'll be completely tahor. Lashon hechsher v'hagala l'libun mitpigul gi'ulei hara shahaya tchila. We all know how you kasher dishes or pots and pans if you go on Pesach and you watch the Hagala where they put the pot into the boiling water, and that causes it to expunge the flavors of Isser, of Chametz that it absorbed. That's how the Torah is working on this person. That there's this word machsharto, it kashers him. So hello kod dvarai ke'eshnu Hashem. The words of Torah like fire. So inside a person and his heart, as he learns a lot of Torah, it's like fire in his heart, and it's causing it to expunge all the badness that was there from his earlier Averas. So, I mean, you can't put your heart in the fire. You can't put yourself in boiling water. You can go to a hot mikvah, but, be careful with that. But the Torah itself is like putting yourself through fire, and it's purifying yourself and kashering yourself. Liban the Torah purifies hearts and kidneys, emotional center of the Torah scholars, and puts people on the right path. So the Torah has a lot of power to affect us in a really good way. Both, I would say, in a rational way. Like we all understand that if you learn Torah, you learn ethics and morals and halacha, how to behave properly according to the law. But here I think he's talking a lot about spiritual and hidden ways. That we talked here a lot about what's happening in the heavens when a person is learning Torah, and how the Torah is shemoisav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when one involves himself in Torah study, it brings all this kedusha and tahara onto him, which includes atonement for sin. I just think it's so important for people who maybe didn't start out learning in yeshiva, or for whatever reason, that even though a person has some averas, and everybody has averas, but through Torah study and then living the Torah, it is a means of purification and atonement of sin. So I think it's very, very promising, because he's not talking about rolling in the snow and, subjecting yourself to punishments and bad things. He's talking about engaging in divine wisdom, learning the beautiful Torah and the wisdom of the Torah. And that itself has so much power to rectify and clarify and to purify and sanctify. So I love that it's like a spring, it's like spring water, and that even though things got clogged up and messed up, but ultimately the goodness is going to flow as a person sticks to it and becomes a Torah learner on a regular basis. So Baruch Hashem, it's very, very promising. Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. We'll be off.
Sure.
We'll be off for a couple of weeks now, Bein Hazmanim, and then we'll get back together in Elul Hashem.
When's the last kollel?
Thursday morning.
This week will be there. Okay.
Take care.
Thank you.
Good night. Call to.
Uh,
Thank you.